Yo, what's up, guys? And today, welcome to episode 15 in my Climb to 1700 series on Chess.com Rapid. Today, we got two game reviews, one which we won and the other which we lost. So let's hop right in. This was a 15-minute game with a 10-second increment. We went with someone who was exactly our rating from Canada. So we got our awesome Scotch opening. I was hoping that he would take and we could go into a Blumenfeld after like bishop to c5 in the main line. Hopefully, I was hoping that I could go into a Blumenfeld after bishop to b5. That's an extremely tricky line. Check it out if you haven't already. But he ended up taking, and I took back. And already, this is just not that great for black because we have a queen and a pawn in the center, and we're just up on development. And he played the move h6. He wasted even more time. The only move that doesn't like really ruin the game is queen to f6, and after we would just take, and then after some lines like this, we're still winning, but it's not as bad for black. I mean, we're still at 0.7, but I mean, this is a much more playable position than what you're about to see. So he took back. Sorry, no, wait, oops, excuse me. After he played a6, we played knight to c3, just taking so much space in the center. We saw c6, spending time on another pawn move. He's using up even more precious time by just a pawn move. This isn't even a bad move, but I mean, this just allows us to develop yet another piece. And we're also controlling the square so well that a d5 pawn push is going to be extremely hard. So we saw knight to f6, and then we just kicked it away. Pawn to e5. The knight went back. If the knight went to h5, we can trap it after g4. The knight has nowhere to go. So, but he didn't fall for that. H7, excuse me, bishop to e3, bishop to e7, knight e4, really looking to get into d6 because this square is a huge hole right now for black. This is a giant weakness, and I did a pretty good job of taking advantage of it in this game, and I also meant for this to be a live game on my Chestnut, but it was acting up for some reason, so I just ended up not recording it. But so now I'm just reviewing them. Anyways, he castled, knight to d6, he took, and now we're just doing an excellent job of controlling these pawns. I mean, the bishop is going to have a hard time getting out, and I mean, he's not going to be able to move this d pawn anytime soon. So knight to g5, just activating it, castling queenside. So far, we have played really good. It said the engine said I played with 100% opening accuracy, but the middle game is where I really started to lose my edge. So knight to e6, pawn to f4. Again, super solid. And now we're kind of entering into the middle game, and we have a clear advantage. I mean, we have the center advantage, the space advantage. I mean, this is looking excellent for us. We're up 2.4. We just have to make sure that I convert. So, pawn to b5. I ended up taking. He took back, and then I went rook to f1, really looking at the idea of pushing on f5. He went queen to e8. I was really expecting him to go here, and then I'd probably just push h3, and I'm doing fine here. Something along those lines, but he played queen to e8. Then I pushed g4, taking away the h5 square and taking even more space on the king side. h4 ideas are now here. He went rook f7, and I ended up going bishop to c5, taking even better control over these pawns, and even looking at queen to f8 ideas if some pieces get traded off. Paired with the rook, this can become dangerous really quick. So bishop to a6, looking to push and attack my rook through a discovered attack. I went f5. Here, I really like the move h4. I don't know what the engine thinks of it. It's a good move apparently, but looking back, I kind of wish I played the move h4 just because we can really just get active and just, I mean, these pawns are really good. It's a 4-on-3, and these pawns are super advanced. I can even slide my rooks over, do whatever I want. But I played f5, which is an even better move because after I take, now these two pawns are rumbling down the board and causing a major presence on the king side of the board. I mean, this is just terrible for black. 3.7 ahead for us. So we saw b4, attacking the rook. I just went up, bishop to c4. I ended up sliding over to b1. That was my first slip up of the game. Going just rook to g1 was better, completely giving away the pawn. Actually, this isn't even giving away the pawn because we can just go here and then the bishop is trapped. Or the engine also likes taking here. That idea completely slipped my mind. So I ended up just playing, again, king to b1. Not a terrible move, but not a great move, because now a5, defending the pawn. And then I went f6. A bad move, because now, I mean, the game is down to 1 point. 1 point advantage. I'm still winning, but it's just not a good move. Because after the move of queen to e6, I did see this idea. I went into this willingly knowing, because I would have gone for the queen trade, and I knew that this wasn't exactly great, but I knew it was certainly still better for us. But he didn't see that, and he went g5, and I knew, like, this can't be that great of a move. So I went rook to g2, looking to really exploit the idea of this overextended g-pawn. h4 ideas are now open. And then bishop to d5, and I completely messed up again with rook to g3. The move, this, to be fair, this was a hard move to see, but the move was sacrificing the exchange. Because after we capture back, I mean, our pieces are just so active now. And I mean, like, again, h4 ideas, of course, and our pieces are just insanely active. I mean, these pawns are going crazy right now. And I mean, black just really cannot do much here, even though he is up material. But unfortunately, I didn't see that, and I played rook to g3, and now queen to e6. I traded off, and just like that, my advantage just crumbled away. I completely gave it away. You know, that's what I like to do. I mean, I played h4, but I'm just giving away the advantages left and right, so, you know, that's what I'm good for. And then, yeah, h4, pawn to g4, right back at you. And then, like, now I kind of realize, like, my attack is, like, over. Like, I have given the game away pretty much to a draw. Because, I mean, these pawns can't really progress. It's an opposite color bishop endgame, and, I mean, this pawn is so well supported. I mean, each pawn can always push, and I'm not going to be able to take this pawn. Now, if I had a light squared bishop, this pawn would be really weak, but I had a dark squared bishop, so that's a whole different story. I played h5, looking to really go after this pawn, but he played king to h7, a nice move by him. And then I played bishop d6. We saw rook to g8, and then I played rook to d4. Giving rook to g5 away, completely bad. I mean, if I just played a move like b3, then everything's fine. I'm shutting off the bishop. If we see this move, I can just slide over, not there, to h1. And, I mean, everything's fine. Everything is held. It's just a fat draw. But I screwed up by giving him rook to g8. And then I went bishop to c7, thinking that I could capture these pawns. He would get these pawns, but I'd get these pawns instead. But what I accidentally missed was he's threatening checkmate in 3, and I just kind of greedily take the a-pawn, and it's not often I say this, but I just completely blundered back rank, so I just resigned, but I just had total tunnel vision because I was so focused on chopping off these pawns, and then ultimately giving him a back rank checkmate in 2. So that was pretty unfortunate how I just gave away such a good advantage like that, because it was really a crushing advantage. I just didn't quite find the way to convert, but letting the rook get into g5 too was also bad. But now I know whenever I get in a position like that, I just have to continue attacking and not trade off the queen. So we lost that game, but this game, my next game, I played a 10-minute game with no increment, so I switched things up. I mean, playing with no increment for a player like me probably isn't the best thing, but this game was still, like, absolutely crazy. So I played a 1573 out of Argentina, and Well, I think it was 1580 or something by the time I played him. But I played with 89.4. My opponent played with 82.7. And you'll see, this game was absolutely crazy. We got a Scandinavian defense, all basic theory. You know that I really like to play it. Going back here, I've also looked into the Elephant Gambit after knight to f3, d5, and I didn't play this in this game, but this is a move that I've been looking over, and you might be seeing this in future videos because I'm looking to spice up my openings. Just have a little more fun, explore new openings, and, I like playing offbeat openings because, again, it's more fun, and oftentimes I end up getting a great attack. So, again, not too much to analyze here. It's just all pretty much basic theory. I played bishop to e7, just preventing the double pawns and also releasing an attack here. He went rook to d1, and my first mistake of the game was castling queenside. I should have just castled kingside, but I always castle queenside in the Scandinavian, pretty much always, unless very few occasions, because I just think it leads to much more fun and aggressive games. But in this case, it was the wrong option because now the bishop is really good and just really disrupting these squares because my bishop is not on d6. So, I mean, it looks like the move bishop to d6 solves that idea, which it does, but he can just go back to g5, and I'm going to have to rotate back, and I just didn't really want that. I didn't really want to draw, but, I mean, I just went knight to d5 anyways. He captured back, which was a slight inaccuracy because I took back, I guess taking back with a queen, because the engine wants a queen trade, it looks like, because now I capture back with the rook, and I can really just start to attack this pawn. But that didn't happen, so I captured back with the e-pawn, getting this nice structure. He went rook to e1, putting his rook in the center. I went bishop to f6, improving my bishop. c3, rook to e8, queen to g3, slight inaccuracy because I traded down. And then I thought for a minute. I was up on time this whole game until this move. And funny enough, the move I spent the most time on was my worst move this whole game. So I think that's just a sign that I just need to play faster and stop overthinking things. The right move here was just a simple move, rook e8. I didn't play it because I didn't like the idea of bishop b8 because he's threatening checkmate, and I mean he can win this pawn. I guess we can trap it. I mismoved bishop to d8. Actually, never mind. He gets queen check, but he wins the pawn, and though the game's equal, I just didn't really like this. I mean, it says we were winning completely here after this check, and now we win the queen. That's pretty nice, but I didn't see those lines, and I just went g6. Really, the reason being why I played this was so I could drop my bishop back, and this pawn wouldn't hang. I also could always go, like, bishop g6, but that was my main idea of just going back to d7. But the engine did not like it. He played pawn to a3. The engine wanted queen to e3 because now I can't play the move I wanted because now the queen is locking down that square. But he played a3, and I played bishop to e7. So this whole idea that I spent a lot of time on ended up being just bad. It was not good. Once again, the engine wanted rook to e8, but I just did not like this bishop to b8 idea. So, I mean, bishop to e7, of course. Bishop to d6. I mean, now trades are forced. He took, I capture back, and now the game is a big draw. It might look like he can get a rook on the 7th rank, which this is typically a game changer. And, I mean, he did. He successfully got it, but because my king was conveniently placed, I could just go rook to d7. If my king was on, like, b8, now I would be in trouble. I mean, I could always play rook f6, but whenever your opponent gets a 7th or 2nd rank rook, it's typically trouble for you. But in this position, it was fine because he checked, and then I ended up blocking with a rook, and then we kind of repeated moves, and I was thinking of just taking the draw because after I go down here, this is now just a draw. But I spent some time here. I consider going rook to d8, which would have been a threefold repetition after rook to e7. But I changed my mind and went king to c7. I know I had the draw right there, but I wanted to really spice the games up. I wanted to go for the win. And if I ended up losing this game, that would have been unfortunate, but I think playing for the win is a lot more fun in most situations, especially since we were around the same rating. If it was a high rated player, I probably would have just taken the draw, but because we were the same rating, I figured why the heck would I not go for the win? So king to c7, king to e1. I went king to d6, looking to go like rook e7, get a queen trade. But I mean, the engine still wants rook to d8 for the draw. But again, I'm not playing for a draw. King to d6. And now I've given the advantage to white. It's still small, but after rook to e7, he took. And I mean, this is just a pretty much a complete draw. I mean, f5, the position is locked down. After g4, I took, and I did realize like there could be a win in this position for either player, even though I mean it's a draw, but there is an imbalance in the position because you have a 2-on-1 here and then a 2-on-1 here. So a pass pawn can be made with this 2-on-2 because there's an imbalance. If this pawn was instead on h4, then there's no chance of making a pass pawn, really. So, okay, king to f6, king to f3. I went h5. Again, looking to just try and create a big imbalance. If he takes, now we both have pass pawns. It's just going to be a big fight. I mean, in this position, I'm winning because now I can just go here. If he takes, I'm just going to get to these pawns, and that's game over. But he didn't play that. He played a4. And I also realized in this position, like heading back here, I have the spare tempo. Like I could have played like b5, and now none of these pawns can move, and I still have a6. So I have the spare tempo in this position. Now I still do, because I still have the a pawn that can move once, which is huge. I mean, having a spare tempo in an endgame is very critical, because then you it lowers the chance of you being put in Zugzwang. Oops. Yeah, okay. So king to g3 after some trades were made. I mean, there's no imbalance here. I mean, there is one, but I mean, he can't even create a pass pawn because now I can take, and this pawn is not even passed. If this pawn was like somewhere else, then he could create a pass pawn, and then he would be winning. But because I have the a pawn, there's no chance of a pass pawn for him. But king to g3, and here, I'm in some trouble if I don't find the move, because if I just mindlessly take, it's still a draw, but I do have to be careful, because if I were to drop back my king, which, I mean, I would have just played a6 and now it's a draw, but if I would have dropped back my king, he can now go here, and, I mean, he can trade off this pawn and look to chop off my pawns this way, and that would lose the game completely. So I played the move king to e6 because now if he takes, after king to h4, I can now get into f5, and now this is still a draw. So that's mainly why I played it, just to save some time. If he pushes, I also can now get into f5, and I mean, I'm winning now completely because I have a pass pawn. But I mean, that was the main move that held. Again, the other move I showed does hold, but he ended up playing king to h4. I played king to f6. He dropped back. I just went king to e6 one more time. I mean, this is now clearly a draw. He then went king to f3. And I realized that now, like I said earlier, now there's a big time imbalance in the position. Because I can create a pass pawn after the move pawn to h4. And white has to be really careful here. Because, I mean, this is a pass pawn. White can create one, but it's going to be a lot harder, and white's really going to have to be careful with this. So after he went king to g2, just looking to stop the pawn and possibly win it back, I went king to f6. Because after this, I will go here, and then if he takes, now I'm completely winning, which this actually happened in game. he went king to h3, and now I played g5 as I just showed. The move here that completely held was pawn to f5. And mind you, my time, I forgot to mention, my time is getting so low, and it's 0 increment. So this is big time danger zone. Even though this game is a complete draw, there's a very high chance I'm just going to lose on time. So in this position, I've realized that I probably should have taken the draw, but I'm actually very glad that I didn't end up, because he ended up taking and I took. And now this game is completely over for white. The only issue is I'm now down to 8.9 seconds, so I have to go. I have to bullet out these moves. Pawn to h3, pawn to g5, king to g5, king to h4, and I was thinking of just rotating moves and taking the draw, but after the move king to h1, I realized that pawn to h2 was not a stalemate. At first, I thought it was, because, the king can't move anywhere. But he has this pawn. And now this pawn was forced to move up. And then I took it with the b pawn. Taking with the d pawn also worked, but I took it with the b pawn. And now the king is stuck with no way to get to this pawn. And white has one last trick here, because after I push, white has one last trick in this position. Because if I take the pawn, it's a stalemate. And I went from completely winning to a draw if I were to take that pawn. But I, with 2.6 seconds left, was not fooled by this, and I just continued to push the pawn. Even though his pawn was one step away from promotion, my pawn was a move closer, and then I ended up promoting and checkmating with the queen on the back rank with 2 seconds left and no increment after a wild back and forth game.